Hey everybody, yesterday I put together a video of a trunk chop and an air layer project that I was working on. I was going to make them one video. After it was all said and done, the video was way too long, so I cut them in half. Here is the air layer that I worked on yesterday, and then stay tuned for the trunk chop video. Take care. The project I really want to do here is I want to make an air layer off this red maple. I'll bring the camera over a minute and show you, but I've grown this in this container for several years now, and I've cut it back a couple times with a trunk chop, and now I'm left with kind of a weird spot down there that, again, I don't think I can grow a nice trunk off of the results of what I had with the trunk chops. So what I'm going to attempt to do is air layer the top off this tree, and then later do a trunk chop on this tree. So let me bring the camera in a little bit closer and I'll show you how this works. Okay, what I want to show you is we've got a pretty good trunk coming here, and then a branch that's not too bad coming out of this way, that with a repot and a reposition, maybe it wouldn't be bad. The problem is I've got these two big stubs up here. If I cut that off, that would leave a big scar right there. And around back, if I cut that off, that would be, that probably wouldn't be too terrible, but I'm not sure that it would fit in with this branch very well. I just don't think it will. Now, if I can get a successful air layer off this tree, have this top removed, maybe I can do some work on it and change my mind. But as of right now, my plan is to get an air layer off and then cut that off right here next year. I will reconsider before I do that, but that's what the plan is. Okay, so as we get started here, first thing I'm going to do is, this is a bag of sphagnum moss, long fibered, and this is what you use for air layering. Don't get like the peat or the sphagnum mixed with peat. You want the long fibered. And the other benefit of this is it has kind of a natural rooting hormone in it, so it will help to encourage the roots. So the first thing I'm going to do is open this up. And then I'm just going to take what I think I'm going to need. And I've got a bucket of water right here. I'm just going to start soaking this. Start soaking some of that in some water. Okay, we'll let that soak. We're going to use some wire because I like to tie the plastic. And there's also a new technique I'm going to use of wrapping a bit of wire around the trunk after it's been cut. You need a box cutter or some type of utility knife with a good sharp blade on it. And then I still use plastic. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go in here and kind of clean some of the foliage out so I can have a good place to work. So we got a nice long straight trunk here. Obviously I'm not going to want that in a new little tree. So I'll take the air layer around here somewhere, and then who knows, maybe in the future, if it takes, I can remove this and maybe pot it in such a way where I get some sort of movement through there some way. But so let's okay, so typically when you do an air layer, you want to remove a space that's at least double the size of the thickness of this trunk. So, sharp knife, push it in, I'm gonna come all the way around. And I'm pushing pretty firmly because I want to make sure I get completely through that cambium layer. should put my glasses on for this. So then roughly double the size. So we'll do it again here. Now when you're making an air layer, when you're making your cuts, it's easiest if you can find a space. If you can find a space on the trunk that you can easily work and wrap your wires, or zip ties, or electrical tape, whatever you're using. I got distracted by a mourning dove. I'll tell you that story in a minute. So then what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our nice sharp knife and we're gonna make a clean cut to join those two slits. Now we're gonna peel this open. So it's really important, nice clean cut right here. So I usually like to go back through, make sure that's clean. And now we have to make sure that the cadmium layer, so it's gonna be what brings all the resources back down the tree, okay? Because what we're doing here is the tree's gonna take resources up the tree. They're gonna go to the leaves. They're gonna photosynthesize, do what they do, and then send the byproduct back down the tree. So what we're doing here is disrupting that flow, okay? And so we have to make sure that flow can't get back down to the roots. Good, clean cut. Scrape it. While I'm scraping this, I'll tell you, I had a I had one of my bigger bald cypress trees setting up on the patio. And one evening I went out there and found a mourning dove had made a nest on the soil surface. And she had an egg in there. Because she already had an egg, I didn't want to disturb her. I didn't want to kick her out, but I didn't want to destroy it. So I thought, well, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to water this tree and take care of it and let her set up house there. The next morning, she had laid a second egg in it. So at that time, I was really committed to making sure that she was able to raise her young there. So I think I looked it up. It's like 2 weeks as an egg and then 2 weeks before the little bird would fly. So I'm like, well, there's a month commitment right there. She's not gonna like me watering that tree regularly. So I lifted the tree up and we slid a Rubbermaid container under the tree. And because it's a bald cypress, I then just put water in there, knowing that the cypress would just take up the water from there. So I was actually gonna make a video documenting that journey. Well, the next day we had a hellacious windstorm and it knocked it all off the deck. And I thought that could happen, so beforehand I actually put some bricks in there also to give it some additional weight, but it wasn't enough. So she lost both her eggs and flew away. 3 or 4 days later, I came out to water, and in the wisteria, let me just show you. There she is. She set up shop again. And slowly I've been getting closer and closer and closer to her because I still have to water everything. But she's there sitting on an egg now. It was 106 degrees out in full sun the other day and she was sitting there. So anyways, I'll probably document that journey. Okay, I'm confident now that I have scraped that clean and that the sap can't get back down to the roots. Nice clean cut up here. If you nick it or something or think you need to, go ahead and put another little cut on there. Okay, so I'm gonna try something different I've never done before. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is just take a piece of wire and wrap it around where I cut the trunk and wrap it around really tight. I'll use my pliers here, tighten it up. And I think the intent is to again act as a dam. Sometimes if your plant's really vigorous, or you don't have it clean enough, it'll bridge back, and then your air layer won't take. So what we're doing here is creating a dam or a blockage, and then right on this cut edge right here, new roots will attempt to emerge to make up for that. So that's how this works. Material goes up the tree, photosynthesizes, comes back down, hits the dam, builds up, and then hormones start producing new roots. The next thing I'm going to do is take a heavy-duty piece of plastic, and I'm going to make a collar to go around this. And then I'll use the wire again, the aluminum wire, to seal that shut. I like to do it that way because it's easier to take your pliers, open that up, peel it back to look, and then you can close it back up and wire it shut again. So let me cut a piece of plastic off here. Okay, so I'm gonna take advantage of the fold in the plastic. I'll wrap some sphagnum in there, try to get this onto the tree. Then I'll pack more sphagnum in there, and then I'll wire it shut. First thing I'm gonna do, the next thing I'm going to do is cut a couple pieces of wire to have handy. Once you start holding that sphagnum and plastic and all that, you don't want to have to reach too far to get a hold of anything. Okay, so I've got this wet sphagnum. Squeeze it out a little bit. I like to squeeze it and kind of pack it, and then try to open it back up a little. It seems like it kind of locks together. I keep in mind where the cut is, so that I don't slide up or down or shortchange myself anywhere. So that's kind of holding together. Now this is where my hands will completely get in the way and block everything, I'm sure. Okay, see if I can turn this. So I got the ball of wet sphagnum there. I'm gonna wrap that plastic like that and back over on itself. And I always use a little too much to start with, and if I have to, I can trim it back. Okay, so now I'm overlapped. I've got plenty of plastic at the bottom to work with. I'm gonna pull this wire as tight as I can here. want to give it a couple twists. And then I'm going to open this back up a little bit. See if I need more. Maybe a little bit more. Now this should wrap up tight enough that you're not going to lose much moisture out of it. So you just want the sphagnum to be damp. Okay, see that? Nope, my hands are in the way, aren't they? Pack that down in there. Roll that over. Take the other pre-cut piece of wire. Wrap that tight. Okay, once you have it where you like it, then take your pliers. And what we're gonna do is probably real similar to like tying your plants into the container. Support everything, tug, twist, and let the twist go back to the tree. We wanna be careful not to break the wire. So I'm reaching down here, I'm grabbing the wire back down there. I have broken wire doing this, so if I do, I will edit that out and not tell you. Okay, that feels good. Same thing for the bottom. We're gonna make sure the bottom gets tied up. Okay. I'm gonna loosely run a piece around there too. Depending on how well I feel the plastic went on determines whether I do this or not. And basically I feel like it just kind of helps hold the sphagnum up against that cut, but then it also keeps that seam right there from opening up. And then I just okay, so loosely put that on there. We have our cut in there. We put the moist sphagnum in there. We tied our wires real tight. I want to what I'm trying to figure out here is I don't want to lose this into the grass. See if I can catch them. And there, good. So I leave those. I leave these little ears on here so that here in 6 or 8 weeks I can come back and twist that off and look at them, and then usually use it again. But I'm just shortening them so they're not sticking out. In case a dove wants to come into here, it doesn't get its eye gouged out. Okay, and now because of the intense sun and all that, I will wrap this with aluminum foil. Okay, so we have the air layer started. I think I'll wait about 6 weeks. I'll simply be able to pull off the aluminum foil, see if I can see any action going on there in the way of root development. Maybe not. It might be a little bit later than that, but we can look at it without disturbing it. Later on, when there are roots are starting to move around a little bit, I can peel that open a little bit to see if see how well the roots are working around the whole air layer itself. Sometimes they don't take. A bridge will reform so that the resources can come back down the tree. If that happens, you can just take your knife and clean that and rewrap it and try again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. The kind of chopping the trunks and then the air layer all kind of gone hand in hand because of just taking air layers off the other plants for so long. Now it's time to chop the trunks and start growing trees with them. I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit the subscribe button. Leave any comments. What are your successes on air layering? Is there something that you saw that I could do different? Did you learn something? Let me know. All right, take care everybody. We'll talk to you soon.